It begins with a voice that sounds like it's running out of time, shaking, urgent, almost breaking between words. The kind of voice that makes you stop whatever you're doing and listen closely, because something about it feels real, raw, and deeply unsettling. A voicemail, said to be one of the last messages left by a young woman connected to the world surrounding Jeffrey Epstein, has resurfaced online, and it's igniting a wave of questions that refuse to go away. Did she try to warn us? And if she did, why didn't anyone listen? The recording has spread rapidly, moving from obscure corners of the internet into mainstream discussion. It's not just the content that's gripping people, it's the tone. There's fear in the voice. Not the kind that's exaggerated or dramatic, but something quieter and more chilling. The kind that suggests the speaker believes she was in real danger. She speaks quickly, as if she knows every second counts. Words come out in fragments, mentions of powerful individuals, hints of hidden truths, and a sense that something much larger was unfolding behind closed doors. And then, suddenly, it ends. No resolution, no follow-up, just silence. That abrupt ending is part of what makes the voicemail so haunting. It leaves a gap, a space that people instinctively try to fill with theories, assumptions, and speculation. In today's digital age, a mystery like that doesn't stay quiet for long. It grows. It spreads. It evolves into something bigger than the original clip itself. Within days, online communities began dissecting every detail. Audio experts, both professional and self-proclaimed, analyzed the voice for signs of authenticity. Some claimed the emotional tone couldn't be faked. Others argued that without clear verification, it could easily be staged. People slowed down the recording, enhanced background noise, and debated over specific words that were difficult to make out. Every syllable became important. Every pause, every breath, every inflection was treated as a clue. But perhaps the most controversial part of the conversation wasn't the voicemail itself. It was the names people believed were being hinted at. Among those names, one stood out for its unexpected nature: Ellen Degeneres. For many, the association seemed almost surreal. Degeneres had spent decades building a public image centered around kindness, humor, and inclusivity. Her daytime talk show was known for feel-good moments, celebrity interviews, and acts of generosity that often went viral. She wasn't the kind of figure people typically associated with dark, secretive networks or controversial scandals. And yet, in the world of internet speculation, no one is completely immune. The inclusion of her name appears to stem not from confirmed evidence, but from interpretation. Some listeners claim the voicemail alludes to well-known figures in the entertainment industry, people who, according to certain theories, may have had connections to powerful circles. From there, it doesn't take long for speculation to spiral. Names get suggested, patterns get drawn, associations, real or imagined, are amplified until they begin to feel significant, even when they aren't backed by verifiable facts. This is how narratives are born online, not always from solid evidence, but from the human tendency to connect dots, even when those dots don't belong together. It's important to be clear. There is no verified proof linking Ellen DeGeneres to any wrongdoing related to Epstein. The resurfacing of her name in this context is largely driven by speculation, fueled by broader conversations about power, influence, and hidden networks among elites. Still, the question lingers in people's minds. Why do stories like this gain so much traction? Part of the answer lies in the legacy of the Epstein case itself. When details about his activities first became public, they revealed a disturbing reality, one in which wealth and influence appeared to shield individuals from accountability for years. Epstein's connections to high-profile figures across politics, business, and entertainment only deepened the sense that his network might extend far beyond what was officially known. That context changes how people interpret new information. A voicemail like this doesn't exist in isolation. It's viewed through the lens of everything that's already been uncovered, and everything that people suspect hasn't been. It taps into a broader fear that there may be more stories, more victims, and more truths that haven't yet come to light. At the same time, it highlights the double-edged nature of the internet. On one hand, Digital platforms have made it easier than ever for voices to be heard. Stories that might once have been ignored can now reach millions of people within hours. On the other hand, the same speed that allows information to spread also makes it easier for misinformation to take hold. Unverified claims can gain traction simply because they are compelling, emotional, or controversial. The voicemail sits right at that intersection, between the possibility of truth and the risk of distortion. For some, it represents a missed warning. They believe the speaker was trying to expose something important, something that people either didn't notice or chose to ignore. For others, it's a reminder of how easily narratives can be constructed without solid evidence, especially when they involve well-known names and emotionally charged topics. The emotional impact, however, is undeniable. There's something deeply human about the idea of a final message, a last attempt to be heard. It resonates because it touches on universal fears: being silenced, being ignored, not being believed. Whether or not the voicemail is authentic, it carries a weight that goes beyond facts and verification. It makes people feel something, and that feeling is often enough to keep the story alive. As discussions continue, some voices are calling for caution. Investigators, journalists, and critical thinkers emphasize the importance of evidence. They point out that without confirmed identities, timestamps, or credible sources, the voicemail cannot be treated as proof of anything. It remains an unverified piece of audio, circulating in an environment where truth and speculation often blur together. Others, however, argue that even unverified stories deserve attention, especially when they involve potential victims. They believe that dismissing the voicemail outright could mean overlooking something important. It's a delicate balance, staying open to the possibility of truth while also demanding the rigor needed to separate fact from fiction. Meanwhile, the name of Jeffrey Epstein continues to cast a long shadow over the entire conversation. His case was never just about one individual. It was about a system, a network, and the ways in which power can operate behind the scenes. That's why any new piece of information, no matter how small or uncertain, tends to attract intense scrutiny. And that's also why names like Ellen Degeneres become part of the narrative, even without direct evidence. In a way, the voicemail has become less about what it specifically says and more about what it represents. It's a symbol of unanswered questions, of stories that may or may not have been told, and of the lingering sense that not everything has been fully uncovered. It forces people to confront uncomfortable possibilities, but it also challenges them to think critically. To ask, what do we actually know? What is being assumed? And how do we navigate the space between the two? As time passes, the intensity of a discussion may fade, as it often does with viral stories. New topics will emerge, attention will shift, and the voicemail may become just another entry in the long list of internet mysteries. But for now, it remains a powerful reminder of how quickly a single voice, real or not, can capture the world's attention. Because once you hear something like that, it stays with you, not necessarily because of what it proves, but because of what it suggests. The possibility that someone tried to speak out, the idea that a warning may have existed, and the unsettling thought that, if it did, it might have been lost in the noise until it was too late. In the end, the story isn't just about a voicemail. It's about the tension between truth and belief, between evidence and emotion, between what we know and what we fear might be true. It's about the responsibility that comes with listening and the consequences of what happens when we don't. And maybe that's the most haunting part of all.